The video of my attention-seeking wife, Tiffany, and her lover washing each other's hair on the train exploded online. It went viral, igniting a firestorm of criticism. Predictably, Tiffany deflected the blame, aiming squarely at me. She accused me of pushing her into this sordid spectacle, all for the sake of money. "You made me do it, Ethan. It's your fault everyone's yelling at me." My work life, my social life, everything was suffering under the weight of the scandal. My boss had called me in for a meeting. My friends were silent, their support withdrawn. Tiffany, however, dismissed it all with a breezy, nonchalant pronouncement. "Sacrificing you to secure my fame and fortune? Totally worth it." Later, the tide turned. Suddenly, she was weeping, begging to publicly exonerate me. I refused to even look at her, brushing past as if she were invisible. My life, once filled with dreams and aspirations, felt like a slow-motion train wreck, the wreckage strewn across the landscape of my heart. Back at our apartment, I found her already home. I was in the living room, indulging in a forbidden pleasure, a pungent durian. Tiffany recoiled, wrinkling her nose in disgust. Without a word, she snatched the half-eaten fruit and tossed it into the trash. My mouth hung slightly ajar, still savoring the piece I held in my hand. I forced myself to swallow it. Tiffany pointed a manicured finger inches from my face. "Ethan, how many times have I told you not to eat that disgusting stuff near me?" I slowly straightened, reaching for my phone and pulling up a specific online forum post. A post detailing her activities. Tiffany's face flickered with unease, but quickly hardened into an expression of righteous indignation. "Ethan, I'm the one bringing in the money. Is it really too much to ask for you to take a bit of heat for me?" I laughed, a hollow, humorless sound. Ever since we'd started dating, I'd made sacrifice after sacrifice. I'd abandoned a secure job, a reliable career, all for her. I'd left my family behind, enduring their disappointment and disapproval. And now, in the heat of an argument, she was using it against me? I retrieved the discarded durian from the trash, retreating to the kitchen to silently clean it. The sweet, musky smell was turning my stomach, just like my wife's behavior. My chest constricted, as if a giant hand were squeezing the air from my lungs. The sound of running water ceased, and Tiffany called out from behind me, her voice laced with saccharine sweetness that set my teeth on edge. "Ethan, have you forgotten about Liam?" My hand paused, hovering over the glass plate holding the fruit. I glanced at the family photo on the cabinet. My son's face, radiant with joy, tugged at the corners of my mouth. I couldn't let this situation ruin everything for him. What would Liam think? What would his future hold if his parents' marriage imploded? His birthday was approaching fast. I couldn't let him lose his mother. I shoved a piece of the durian into my mouth, choking down the bitter taste. Tiffany slid a document across the counter, her expression a mixture of triumph and disdain. I skimmed the agreement, a heavy sigh escaping my lips. "Fine, I'll sign." Tiffany snatched the paper, twirling with satisfaction. She leaned in, pecking me on the cheek. "Honey, from now on, we're going to be great." I offered a weak nod, my heart a wasteland of loneliness and apprehension. What I was signing away, what I would have to face, was terrifying. But then I thought of my son, back in my hometown, and a wave of self-loathing washed over me. I didn't matter, but I couldn't condemn my child to a life of hardship. Tiffany stayed for a couple of hours, carefully applying her makeup before heading back out to continue her live streams. This time, I could finally eat durian in peace, without fear of her judgment. I sank onto the sofa, mindlessly scrolling through short videos. A notification flashed across my screen. Tiffany was live, and her chat was exploding, but the vitriol wasn't directed at her. It was aimed at me. Tiffany, her face contorted in a practiced sob, dabbed at her eyes with one hand, while clutching her chest in anguish with the other. "My sweet followers, please don't blame my husband. We come from a humble background, and we have a child to raise. Please, don't hurt my family." She was playing the victim, the damsel in distress, and her ratings were soaring. The internet mob, swallowing her narrative whole, unleashed their fury on my social media accounts. Within an hour, I had received nearly 1,000 hate-filled messages. So sorry for your wife. Doesn't look like you know a dog from a human. You have such a way with words. I bet you used them to wipe your mouth after going down on your wife's cooch. Are you married by force? Each scroll of the screen sent tremors through my body. These people were relentless. But maybe if I turned off my phone, it would all just disappear? I devoured the remaining durian, focusing intently on the television. Suddenly, my phone buzzed insistently on the coffee table. Fear clenched in my gut. I reached for it, praying it wasn't Liam's school. Hello? Yes, the school fees for my son are paid today. But a rough, unfamiliar voice snarled in my ear. You son of a bitch. Using my goddess for attention? You got no shame. Years of ingrained politeness prevented me from engaging in a shouting match with a stranger. I hung up, the line going dead. I tossed the phone back onto the sofa, exhaling in relief. I carried the empty plate to the kitchen to wash it, and the phone rang again. This time, it wasn't just one call. It was a barrage, relentless assault of 100 calls or more. I was being phone bombed. Defeated, I messaged Tiffany on WeChat. About half an hour later, she finally replied, her face partially obscured by the makeup she was removing. Honey, what's wrong? She demanded, her tone impatient. I stammered, the words tumbling out in a rush. I'm being phone bombed by your followers. Silence hung on the other end of the line, broken only by the static. I tentatively asked, Tiffany? She cleared her throat, her voice smooth and dismissive. Honey, you're imagining things. My followers are all wonderful people. Just admit you miss me. She took a sip of bubble tea, coyly covering her face with her hand. No, I frowned, my lips moving soundlessly, but she cut me off. Honey, I'm really busy. I'll be home later. We can play then. Clutching the phone, I slumped onto the sofa, overwhelmed by a wave of conflicting emotions. This online harassment was suffocating. Today it was phone calls. What would it be tomorrow? Panic welled within me, and I grabbed my robe and headed for the bathroom. The hot water cascaded over me, the steam momentarily obscuring my troubles, until the frantic pounding on the door. I quickly dried myself, wrapped the robe tightly around my body, and peered through the peephole. I recoiled in horror. A man stood on the other side, a jagged scar slicing across his face. Judging by his size, a single punch could take me down. I muted the television, retreated to the bedroom, locked the door, and fumbled for my phone. Tiffany answered quickly, still impatient. Honey, what now? I'm in a lingerie store, buying clothes. I'll be back tonight. My lips trembled, my voice barely a whisper. Tiffany, if I die, would you stay true to my memory? She was absorbed in choosing clothes, not hearing a word I said. The line went dead. I collapsed to the floor, my gaze falling on the family photo on the bedside table. I pushed myself to my feet. I was the man of the house. I couldn't cower. I couldn't back down. I'd fight. I burst into the kitchen, grabbing a carving knife. With a kick, I sent the front door flying open. The hallway was empty. I stood there, dumbfounded. Had I imagined it? I rubbed my eyes and noticed a cardboard box on the ground. My name was scrawled on it. The box was light. I grabbed it easily and went inside. I logged onto my Amazon account. I had recently bought a box of kiwi fruit, so it must be that. I grabbed a pair of scissors and carefully tore open the package. My jaw dropped. Inside lay a butchered cat, its limbs and organs scattered in a gruesome display. Blood was everywhere. I covered my mouth and ran into the bathroom, retching. I collapsed beside the toilet, overwhelmed by a sudden, intense longing for my wife. I pulled out my phone and dialed her number. The call wouldn't go through. I sent her a message, but it was unread. As night fell, the stench of blood in the apartment grew stronger. This couldn't continue. I put on a mask and gloves and moved the box into a trash bag. This was horrific. What sort of person would do this to a poor cat? I opened the door, and Tiffany slammed into me. She spoke first. What are you up to? Blowing up the toilet? I gave a curt nod and went into the elevator. There was a man in the foyer staring at me. I pretended not to notice and ran home. Tiffany was waiting for me in the apartment door, her face filled with rage. "I can't believe you, Ethan. You abuse cats." I looked at her, then down at the cardboard box. There was a piece of cat hair stuck to it. Remembering the man, I took her hand and pulled her inside. She struggled away from me and spat. "If you're annoyed about the abuse you're receiving online, why hurt a cat about it?" I removed my mask and explained. "This isn't mine, Tiffany. Someone's doing this to me." She laughed, a laugh that went right through me. She opened her phone, flicked to Amazon, and showed me a screenshot of the order. It had been sent from my account. I opened my own account and scrolled down. I ordered kiwi fruit. "Whatever," she said. "I'm going to shower, but we'll talk about this later." I sat on the sofa and opened the television. The phone beeped, and the screen lit up. It was a message from my wife's bank. It was details of her credit card bill, along with a hotel booking in the name of Kong and addressed as Sir. She had told me that it was a performance for the cameras, but why had she booked a hotel room for tonight before coming home? Once trust is broken, it is gone forever. I guessed the password, trying our wedding anniversary. It didn't work. The sound of the shower stopped. "Ethan," she shouted, "bring me my robe." I slowly put the phone down and did as I was asked. As I grabbed the robe, a WeChat message popped up on her screen. "Honey, the lingerie you bought me has arrived. Come to room 603 to try it on." The user was called Mastodonis. His picture was a stock photo of a man's back as he made a heart with his fingers. I was filled with jealousy and clumsily unlocked the phone using my face. It worked. Mastodonis kept sending messages, telling her how excited he was to see her. I opened one of the pictures and saw she had ordered men's XXL underwear. They were not for me, and they certainly were not for my son. I couldn't take it anymore, and Adonis sent a video of him and my wife together in the sun on her birthday. I had been in hospital at the time. How could I have been so blind? The sounds of my wife shouting brought me back to reality. "Ethan, I've been waiting for ages. What's wrong with you?" I closed my eyes. She still needed me, and it wasn't the right time to fight. My son needed his mother. I sent the information to my own phone and deleted it from hers. I brought the robe to the bathroom and was immediately pulled inside. The bathroom was steamy, and Tiffany's face was flushed. "I have the day off tomorrow. What do you want to do?" I pulled away. "You're too tired, go to sleep." I turned around and walked out, and she screamed after me. "What do you want from me?" "I can't believe you're playing hard to get." I gripped the door handle and turned to face her. "Just go to sleep." Tiffany blew me a kiss and turned away, and my phone pinged. I picked it up. It was Mastodonis. "Baby, I'm stuck in this underwear. Come and help me take it off." I stared at the screen and felt a pair of arms wrapped around me from behind. Her perfume filled my nostrils, and she pulled me backwards towards the bed. She unbuckled my trousers. "Like this?" She slid her robe off, revealing black underwear. I couldn't help it. I was a man. I pinned her to the bed, and she cried out, "Careful." I buried my head in her neck and saw a huge hickey. I could not control myself anymore. I stood up and grabbed her phone. "How long have you been lying to me, Tiffany?" She looked at the phone, then back to me and feigned ignorance. "That's just spam. I don't know who sent it." I opened the video and showed her. I stood back and waited for her response. She bit her lip and after a long pause, spoke. "We haven't done anything. I promise." My head started to spin. "What do you want from me? You must think I'm a fool. Shall I just stay with you until you get pregnant by him?" She slapped me across the face, and I fell to the floor. My mouth was bleeding. She was briefly contrite, before becoming forceful. "How can you say that? My first time was with you. What sort of woman do you think I am?" I wiped the blood from my face. After all this time, she was the person who caused me the most pain. I threw the screenshot of the underwear on the floor and walked out. If she thought all of this was nothing, then I didn't need her. She looked at the picture, blushed, and said, "That was for a live stream." I curled my fingers into a ball. I took a deep breath. "Tiffany, if you don't love me, then we can get a divorce. You don't have to lie." All of these years, I had tried my best, but in the end, it was not enough. I stood and walked into the bedroom to get my things. She still wouldn't be honest with me. I didn't need this. I pulled my suitcase out and dusted it off. I opened the wardrobe to get my clothes. It was small, and 2/3 of it was her clothing. I had 2 t-shirts, a pair of faded jeans, and a down jacket. She bought me the jacket on our first date. I packed my things and walked to the door. She blocked my path, refusing to move the suitcase. "Are you really going to leave me over this?" she said. "I'll wait for you to come crawling back." I hardened my heart and walked to the door. As I did so, a man blocked my path. It was the scarred man from before. I was filled with rage and pushed past him. "You'll regret this," she shouted after me. I laughed bitterly and walked to the elevator. As the doors closed, she disappeared from sight. I reached the lobby and my phone rang. It was my sister. We hadn't talked for years, but she still secretly sent me money on birthdays and Christmas. I answered the phone. "Liam's birthday is coming up. Here is some money to buy him a present, and don't forget to look after yourself." Tears filled my eyes. My sister was the only one who cared. "I know. Thank you." On the other end of the phone, I could hear a glass smash and a man shouting. I was filled with dread. "Is he hurting you?" My sister was silent for a moment, then forced a laugh. No, I have to go. I'll talk to you later, okay?" Standing on the sidewalk, staring at the blank screen of my phone, I was lost. I had no idea where to go. Over a decade as a stay-at-home dad had eroded my confidence and rendered my resume obsolete. As I walked, I scanned the advertisements plastered on the storefronts. My eye snagged on a handwritten flyer, "Sales position available, room and board included." I punched in the numbers and called. The phone rang 3 times before someone answered, their voice laced with annoyance. "Hello? Who is this? What do you want?" Unease pricked at me, but I tamped it down. Now wasn't the time to pick fights. I needed a job. I needed a place to live. I swallowed, forcing a friendly tone. "Hi, I saw your ad for a sales position. I used to be a teacher, so I'm good with people. I was hoping I could apply." The person hesitated, then chuckled. "Sure, if you don't mind $2,000 a month, you're hired." $2,000? That was barely enough to survive in this economy. But right now, I needed a roof over my head and a way to support myself. I dug into my pocket, found the last $2 I had, and boarded a bus. The insurance company was easy to find, right on the corner. As I got off, a man with a kind face approached me. He grabbed my suitcase, grinning broadly. "I'm Leo, the manager here. Let me show you the employee dorm." Leo led me down a maze of alleys, finally stopping in front of a dilapidated apartment building. He pulled out a ring of keys, unlocking one of the doors. A wave of dust assaulted me, sending me into a coughing fit. Leo fanned the air. "It just needs a little cleaning. Here's the key. Come in tomorrow to fill out the paperwork." I gotta run. Without looking back, he hurried off, his briefcase weighing down his shoulder. I dragged my suitcase inside, rolled up my sleeves, and started clearing out the trash and debris. After an hour, I'd managed to make the room habitable. I lay on the bed, staring at the stained ceiling, and felt a sliver of peace. Of course, that's when I got a text message. From Tiffany. It wasn't an apology. It was a tirade of blame and threats. Suddenly, my sacrifices over the past 10 years felt like a sick joke. I opened the text thread, typed a few letters, and the predictive text filled the screen with pleas and apologies. I selected all and hit delete. This time, I wouldn't cave. Affairs were either fatal, or they never happened at all. Tiffany thought she could bully me into submission, just like before. But she'd forgotten that I was a man with a breaking point, and she had pushed me too far. I sent the message I'd been planning to send her for months. "Tiffany, we're getting a divorce." I didn't wait for a response. I blocked her number and added her WeChat to the blacklist. I pulled out a savings card, the one my sister had given me for my 18th birthday, and fondled it. The money inside would be enough to hire a lawyer. I contacted former colleagues, got a recommendation for a lawyer, and drafted the divorce papers. I had finished filling out my application at the insurance company and was on my way to start my first shift. Just as I got to the front desk, I was told to pour the water and take over the reception duties. I was terrified of looking up to see the person I least wanted to see. Tiffany walked into the office and splashed water all over herself. I was terrified and reached for a cloth. The manager, Leo, told me to take her to the staff room to get changed. I led the way and showed her to the room. She grabbed my arm and started screaming at me. "Put me back on your phone and come home now. You are not having that disgusting job." In the commotion, I pushed her off and she fell to the floor. She clutched her stomach as blood started to trickle down her legs. "Help me," she shrieked. I forgot everything and took her to the hospital. Whilst she was inside, I paced around the lobby. The surgery was over. The doctor emerged with a big smile. "Congratulations, your wife is going to be fine. She needs to be careful though. She's 3 months pregnant." My head started to spin. We had not slept together in over 3 months. She had been on business trips. There was no way this could be my child. The affair was real. I reached for the divorce papers and made a decision. I was going to get custody of Liam. I stood outside the door to the maternity wing for a while, refusing to go in. She did not deserve me. I pushed the divorce papers under the door and walked away. As I was leaving the city, Leo, the manager, started to get chatty. "Why are you doing this? Your wife is pregnant and you're leaving her?" I looked out of the window and said nothing. There was no way back from this. I wanted custody of Liam, but I would need to talk to him. I was determined to tell him the truth. I contacted my lawyer to ask her about the arrangements. As I was doing so, I got a spam call. After 15 or so calls, I answered the phone. A woman's voice spoke. "Please come home. I don't want a divorce. There is nothing here for me. Sign the papers and move on," I replied. "You've never forgiven me. Are you serious about this?" I tried to remain calm. "Have we slept together in 3 months, Tiffany? You think I'm stupid? You aren't being honest with me." There was a long pause, and I could hear her breathing down the phone. "I won't play around anymore. You have to give me a chance. I'm not your second chance, Tiffany, and you don't get to just say you're sorry. Unless you agree to a divorce, I am going to take you to court." She freaked out and started shouting down the phone. I was done with her and needed to focus on my shift. I sent my presentation to Leo, who immediately messaged me back. "Why are you still up? It's late. We need to send this out tonight, right?" I replied, "Sorry, I got the day wrong. Don't worry about it. I'm busy with my wife." A sense of loneliness filled the room. I sat on the bed eating noodles and planning my future. I would put aside $1,500 this month, which would be $18,000 per year. I could save enough to buy Liam a house. That was when I got a slap from reality. The next day I was told that I was being fired. I had to ask the manager why. Leo was sat drinking herbal tea inside. "Your wife told me that you struggle under pressure and that you steal." I have to listen to her. I'm afraid. I stood and walked out of the office. I put Tiffany back onto my phone to call her, but I was already blacklisted. She was clearly happy with what she had done. I took the train to her house and knocked on the door. No one answered. As I was about to leave, I could hear giggling in the background. "We should stop now. Someone is at the door." "That will be the plumber. I'll get it." Tiffany opened the door, and I saw her disheveled. She looked pleased to see me and reached for my hand. "You've seen sense?" I took a few steps back. "You're disgusting." A man poked his head out and smirked at me. "You look like you're struggling. Want to see what a real man looks like?" I turned to him. "It's nothing to do with you. You're the one stealing other people's partners. There is a special hell waiting for you." He charged at me, and we started fighting. She fell to the floor and started screaming. "Stop it." He helped her up and started comforting her. My face was stinging from the punch, so I walked away and pushed the elevator button. As the doors started to open, someone grabbed me from behind. It was Tiffany, who started clutching my waist. "I've been thinking things over. I love you. Don't go." I didn't respond. When she let go, I kept walking. When I got outside, I looked up at the window and saw the silhouette of a man and woman laughing. There was no sadness on her face at all. I was a fool. I had found a new job with a slightly higher salary of $3,500 per month. During my lunch break, I received a package. It was the divorce papers. I was relieved, rather than happy. At the end of the day, I took the train home to see Liam for his school vacation. The train was full of kids, and I was excited. I waved at Liam. "Liam, over here." He looked towards me, but kept staring in another direction. "Where's Mom?" he asked. I kissed his head and said, "Are you hungry? Let's go for a burger." He started dancing and singing. "Let's go." I took his hand, and we walked to the burger restaurant. As a treat, I ordered the 3-person special. He was eating fries, and tomato ketchup was all over his face. He asked, "Why didn't you get the one for 3 people? What will Mom eat?" I stopped pouring sauce and replied, "I'm afraid Mom and I are getting a divorce." He went wild and knocked the tray all over the floor, spilling the fries and burgers everywhere. He fell on the floor screaming, "I want Mom." Everyone was staring. "Please stop. I'll take you to see your mom," I said. He calmed down immediately. I apologized to the staff and gave the cleaners some money. Tiffany was waiting for us outside in a car, wearing a baseball cap. Liam ran towards her and hugged her leg. Tiffany stroked his hair and stared at me. We went to the local theme park in her car. Liam wanted to play on the carousel, so Tiffany and I waited next to it. She came back with 2 ice creams. "These are delicious. Would you like one?" "No, thank you. I can't eat cold food." She blushed and threw both of them away. She spent the entire time trying to get my attention, but I said nothing and concentrated on the scenery. Today was a parent and child contest, and the winners would get a special gift. Liam was captivated and pulled us towards it. I tried to resist, but she saw through me. "It's okay. We can play for Liam," she said with a smile. Liam jumped for joy. It was a tricky game that required all 3 of us. As we touched hands to work together, Liam kept shouting encouragement from the sidelines. There was a balloon sandwiched between us, and we had to burst it to win. Our bodies touched more and more, and I tried to keep my face calm. The balloon burst and Tiffany fell forwards into my arms. Liam took lots of pictures on his phone. As I helped her up, I tried to grab the phone to delete them. Tiffany stopped me and let me have it. As we left, Liam fell asleep in the back of the car. Tiffany kept looking at me in the rearview mirror. I tried to ignore her. "Are you okay?" she asked. I said nothing and kept looking out of the window. She tried to speak, but her phone rang. I saw her face grow serious in the mirror. We had reached my house. I picked up Liam and said thank you to Tiffany. I was polite, but cold. "It was a privilege meeting you. I love you," she said. I closed the door. A month later, the company I worked for received an urgent request. A woman and a man had been arguing and had driven a car off a bridge. The scene was horrific. Luckily, no one else was hurt. I sighed and started my report. Suddenly, a news alert popped up on my phone. Tiffany, influencer, and her lover drive a car off bridge in outburst. There was lots of negative publicity, and a lot of people were bringing up the attacks on me. It was then I was publicly exonerated. Every single image and word proved my innocence. Tiffany was vilified. Her account had been reported so many times it was about to be taken down. What was going on? As I left work, the manager handed me an insurance policy. My name was listed as the beneficiary. My mind was in turmoil. After giving it some thought, I went back to the house that was once our home. I put the key in the lock and saw that it had been emptied. The furniture was gone, and the wedding picture had been thrown on the floor. I opened a drawer that Liam used to hide money. The money was gone, but I found a letter. It was an apology note with no address. Curious, I opened the letter. I spent 5 minutes reading. Those 5 minutes stirred up a hurricane of emotions. The man who had been having an affair had been a con artist. He had lied about saving her and had gotten her into debt. Tiffany had been fired from her job due to the scandal. She had lost everything, and she had lost her womb. She was filled with regret. She had realized that she loved me, but it was too late. I folded up the letter and threw it in the trash. This story was over. I had more important things to think about. I was going to start taking care of myself and spending time with the people who were worth it.